What is up, you guys? I'm Charmx, and today I'm going to be reacting to Game Theory, The Murky History of Minecraft's Underwater Gods by the Game Theorist. Now, I don't know what to expect from this theory, but it is a Minecraft theory, which it's been a while since Matt has done a Minecraft video. But yeah, with that being said, the original link's in the description. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the Game Theorist, and without any further ado, let's begin.
The ocean, a beautiful blue crystal on this cube.
Is he doing a freaking SpongeBob intro parody?
Vital planet we call home. Home to sea creatures large and small. The majestic squid, the playful dolphin.
Is that Matt doing that voice?
The reborn souls of the dead waiting to drag into your watery grave.
All today on Game Theory.
It was a weird intro, Matt.
Hello in
The 13 plus demographic edition? Yeah, I don't know. Am I supposed to classify this video as for kids or not? I don't know. The stupid FTC guidelines. I don't know. Anything that's like remotely Minecraft animated, freaking, I've just labeled it all for kids because I don't freaking know. Even though I don't think it is. I know a lot of old people like Minecraft, but I don't know.
internet. Welcome to Game Theory, where today we're engaging in a very mature 13 plus critical analysis of a fun for all ages game, Minecraft. Does that cover me?
That's what I was wondering. Is that gonna cover you for saying that? I don't know.
Not gonna get hit by any FTC fines, right? Here, let me throw in some big words just in case. Entrepreneurship, anti-disestablishmentarianism, defenestration,
Oh, I was hoping the big words could be a bunch of swear words.
rampant consumerism. Hey, you know, speaking of rampant consumerism and that 2020 copy purge, if you want to help protect this channel while also showing your...
Yeah, Matt, how many videos are going to be hit from you? Because I think most of Matt's videos have to do with kid-friendly movies and stuff. Like just Zootopia, Elsa and Anna, Frozen. Like there's so many theories Matt's done that are based off of like kids' movies and whatnot. Or movies that look like they could be targeted towards kids. Are those videos affected? I wonder how Matt's doing with the whole Copa thing.
Your theorist
With me, I think I have like, I went through all my videos, and I think out of the 2,000 that I've uploaded on this channel, I think I might have now 2/3, I think, 2/3 to 3/4 I've deemed kid-friendly, because I don't know. And so, I don't know.
Alright, with all that housekeeping out of the way, let's talk some Minecraft, shall we? Today we're getting our Little Mermaid on and going down
Oh, that's a disturbing image.
where it's wetter, down where it's better, under the sea. In Minecraft, the underwater biomes just don't seem to get enough love. Sure, everyone is always excited to make songs dedicated to the fiery death plains of the Nether, or to discuss the otherworldly void of the end, but the watery depths of the overworld offer just as many breathtaking sights, unusual...
Yeah, I like the coral update that they added. It looks pretty cool.
...creatures and head-scratching mysteries, and yet no one really seems to care. It's kind of like art imitating life, because here in real life, we're so focused on space exploration that most of our undersea biomes here on Earth have gone completely unexplored. I think we've only seen like 5% of them. So today I'm gonna change that. Not the 5% thing. Heck no, that water is cold. No, I'm just gonna sit on my butt and talk.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, I think 5% of the ocean, 5 to 10% of the ocean has been explored, something like that. But there's like, 90% of the ocean, we don't know what's at the bottom. And I wouldn't be surprised if a large majority of it is World War II airplanes and ships.
Talk about oceans in a video game for about 18 minutes. What's the deal with the Guardians and the Elder Guardians? Where did they come from? Are they
Is that what those are? I thought those were pufferfish.
just giant fish creatures that really like hanging out in ocean monuments? Did they build the ocean monuments? Seems pretty unlikely. And speaking of those buildings, what's the deal with those massive underwater mazes? How do the drowned fit into all this? What are these trident-wielding mer people? Are they just zombies that fell into the water? Get ready to take the plunge, because today and next episode, we're diving straight into the deep end. What first started me down the path of ocean mysteries were the Guardians, and their bigger granddaddies, the Elder Guardians.
I always thought they were pufferfish. They look kind of like pufferfish, don't they, with the spikes? I mean, in Minecraft, they can't make things circular, so I mean, I think this is like the closest thing to a pufferfish that they could make.
Mob standpoint, I mean, sure, they're giant sea creatures with one eye and spikes. Nothing super weird there right off the bat, but what initially got my theorist senses tingling was the way that they attack. With a literal laser beam. An underwater eye beam that requires time to charge up before it launches at you and causes massive amounts of damage. That's pretty weird for a fish, or really any sort of natural...
Find the laser!
I mean, Minecraft is a game full of fantastical creatures, don't get me wrong, but attacking with eye laser cannons just felt out of place for me.
Yeah, it is weird. That's why I didn't understand why the pufferfish were so powerful.
So I just kept swimming, and stumbled across an even more unusual detail: their inability to die. You see, if you take a guardian or elder guardian out of the water, it just flops around on the
Wow, that's weird.
cubic Magikarp. But why this matters is what doesn't happen. You see, it doesn't suffocate when exposed to the air. It literally just keeps flopping around until you carve it up to make sushi. Well, it's just a video game mechanic, I hear you saying, and you'd be right.
You'd be right, but with the other fish, they would drown outside of water, right? Or they would die. So obviously that is implemented in there for a reason.
If only other fish behaved the same
Yeah.
way.
Oh wait, no, that's a pufferfish. Okay, yeah, that's right. I forgot that there actually were these pufferfish in the game.
For every other fish in the game, you take it out of the water, it flops around and eventually dies. Take a squid out of the water, it suffocates and dies. Take a salmon out of the water, it suffocates and dies. Take a pufferfish or a cod out of the water, they suffocate and they die. If you can't tell, there were a lot of cuboidal animals that were harmed during...
That's what I was gonna make a joke about that, but I didn't know how to form the joke. About Matt having to do a lot of humane research for this video.
during the production of this video. Anyway, the Guardians and the Elder Guardians are the only undersea creatures that can live indefinitely on the land. So between that and the laser eye thing, there was just something, pardon the pun, fishy about them. Or, actually, that's completely the wrong pun because it was something that didn't feel fishy about them. Something that felt a bit less like an animal and a bit more like a machine. Let's look closer at the design of the Guardian. Notice the colors of its flesh and the cracked patterns across its body. It's nearly identical to the prismarine blocks that form the ocean monument around them. Coincidence? I think not. And that isn't just my observation either. In Minecraft's official mob beat...
Okay, so this is kind of something I've noticed. Normally when Matt does a theory, he kind of tells you what he's gonna go for, right? And then he works his way of explaining through his thought behind it, and, you know, bringing evidence and whatnot to back up his theory. But so far, we haven't heard a theory. He hasn't said, oh, well, I think these Guardians are this, or Guardians are that. He hasn't said anything. So that's kind of weird. Normally he would have specified, you know, what his end goal was by now to prove. But I don't know.
Bestiary, the in-depth guide written from the perspective of an animal researcher in the Minecraft world, they specifically allude to this fact. Quote, their skin is cracked, as if carved from some ancient rock, and their single white eye is somehow both unknowable and cruel. End quote. Ancient rock, you say? Like perhaps prismarine? The very same stone that serves as the primary building block for all ocean monuments? The only place in the game where they spawn? Further supporting the idea that the Guardians aren't made of flesh, but rather of
Yeah, they do look like they are made of that.
prismarine stone is their drop behavior. When killed, the Guardian has a 40% chance of dropping prismarine crystal, which, for a fish, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, if you kill a sheep, it drops you wool. If you drop a cow, it drops you, like, cow flesh. But if you're a non-organic creature built from the nearby rock...
Yeah, that doesn't make sense why it would drop the prismarine stuff. What are you trying to get at, Matt? What are you trying... What am I doing? What are you trying to get at, Matt? I wish Matt would have specified what his end goal here was to prove. So far, we're just kind of like, okay, I don't know where Matt's going, but I'm along for the ride.
Rocks and minerals? Well, that could certainly explain a whole lot. And speaking of their drop behavior, the mob bestiary does a drop of its own. Another interesting tidbit about the Guardians. Quote again, Elder Guardians will also drop a water-absorbing sponge if killed by an adventurer. And if it doesn't drop a prismarine crystal, one will find raw fish of some kind in its place. Some scholars think that this is evidence that its diet consists of fish and other natural watery foodstuff, but Guardians have never been seen to wander far from their temple homes to catch them, so we cannot be sure. End quote. It's an odd detail to include there at the end, right? To specifically call out, hey, they drop fish, meaning that they might eat fish, but, you know, considering the fact that they never leave the ocean monuments they spawn in, they probably don't eat the fish. Again, all the...
The fish could always swim into the monuments, couldn't they? You know, fish like areas that are, enclosed in the water, like, you know, shipwrecks and whatnot. Fish like them. So an underground temple or an underwater temple, fish would most likely like to hang out there. But, you know, if these guys eat fish, then there would be no fish in there. You know, does that make sense? Fish would swim in there, but these guys would just eat them.
evidence seems to be pointing to these creatures not being animals, as I'm sure we've all assumed them to be, but rather some sort of artificial creation. A defense mechanism built of the surrounding materials somehow mixed with real-life fish, or real-life fish DNA to protect the very monument that they spawn inside. Even the creature's anatomical design inside the mob bestiary seems to contain some level of secrets. For most other mobs in the game, the book has this incredible illustration of their inner workings.
So wait, so did Mojang actually make this book explaining the characters and how things work like that? That's what it seems like. I don't know.
The dense skeletons of the creeper, the humanoid brains of the Enderman. But for the Elder Guardian, we get ourselves a piece-by-piece dissection of the eye, with components that look kind of like wires, leading to panels meant to charge up its laser. And
does look like a robot, to be honest.
underneath that thick, rocky skin, nothing much. A thin layer of pink with a gray area that appears to be stone. It's certainly not any sort of bony structure. It's not anything that resembles the inner workings of a fish, and it's certainly not anything that looks remotely organic. Lastly, it's worth noting that the Elder Guardian's eye will still have the ability to track a player who's invisible, seeming to suggest that this mob is dealing in the thermal spectrum, tracking your heat signature rather than any sort of visual sign of your movement patterns. So again,
It's very interesting.
Interesting detail about these creatures. I mean, even the name seems to allude to it, Guardian. Considering they only spawn inside ocean monuments and they're called guardians, if they were indeed man-made, well, clearly
Were you under the map? Were you cheating right there, Matt? How were you doing that? Why were you doing that, huh?
Someone is being a naughty, naughty boy.
they were made to act as some sort of security mechanism. But then, what are they supposed to be protecting? Well, despite ocean monuments being massive complexes, there's really only two unusual rooms worth calling out inside of them: the sponge room and the treasure room. The first is fairly self-explanatory. It's the sponge room. It is a room full of sponges. There's not much more to say there. I'm personally more of a loofah man myself, but still, it's odd that whoever built this enormous building deemed it necessary to dedicate a room to this one oddly specific item. More on
It is weird that they would they put sponges in there and dedicate the room to the sponges. Very weird. I never thought of that before.
that in a minute, because it's the treasure room that I think the Guardians want to focus on. You see, while every monument may not necessarily contain itself a sponge room, all monuments do contain themselves a treasure chamber, a central area with a tall ceiling and 8 gold blocks located in the middle. Gold blocks that are encased or hidden behind a layer of dark prismarine. And it's this right here that is perhaps the most oddly specific design choice hidden in the entire game. Here we are in the middle of this
What? What's the design choice? That it's the gold? Or that it's the stuff surrounding the gold?
massive underwater complex made entirely of one material. Just varieties of prismarine everywhere. That's it. And yet, smack in the middle, the designers decide to include this massive golden box. Alright, that alone would
Is that supposed to represent the fish, maybe? The Guardians? I don't know. I'm just shooting in the dark at this point. I'm just firing blanks.
make some kind of sense, I guess, displaying your prized treasure like it's a core to the entire building, but it's the fact that the gold is hidden under another layer, that the gold is literally encased within a box of dark prismarine, within a box of another stone hidden away, that really strikes me as noteworthy here. And it's those details, coupled with the overall design of the structure, that leads me to believe that the ocean monuments were made to be religious buildings. First, let's just start by looking at the overall design of the ocean monument.
I mean, yeah, that kind of goes without saying, though. It looks like a freaking temple, right?
It's a classic ziggurat structure, a staircase-like building with wide, flat landings that get narrower each level up. Basically, it's like a big pyramid, but with some stopping points.
Is that Obama on there? Why?
As you get higher, whereas a more traditional pyramid, like those in Egypt, consists of
That's funny. I don't know why you put it there, but that's
a
hilarious.
smooth, continuous line all the way to the peak. Ziggurats were famous in ancient Mesopotamia, basically the first place you learn about
Was that the Aztecs where they'd like cut people's hearts out and stuff?
in world history class and never fully understand or care about. Cradle of civilization, have no idea what that is. Let's just get to ancient Greece and Egypt already. Those are the cool ones. Or at least that's how I felt when I was learning those units. So I went back, refreshed myself on all that information, and let me clear it up for you. Mesopotamia back in
See, Matt, if you just paid attention to begin with, you wouldn't have had to do that.
the day was where modern-day Iraq and part of Syria are today.
Okay, that was not the Aztecs. I think the Aztecs were in South America, right?
So basically, it's an ancient civilization located in the Middle East. That is where you would find structures like the one that we see depicted here in Minecraft. So, knowing the real-life structure that these monuments are based on, we can start to get clues as...
Are there any other structures that would look similar to that, though? Because this kind of resembles that structure, but not really. Like, I'm pretty sure any other kind of structure built, like the Aztecs, what kind of structure did they use? Would it look similar to this? There have been plenty of civilizations throughout history. Do any other ones have buildings look similar to this? Did you think of that, Matt?
to what their intended use was in the Minecraft lore. You see, in ancient Mesopotamia, a ziggurat's main purpose was religious. It was meant to connect heaven and earth. They're thought to have been built to literally house the gods. As such, only priests were allowed to get inside of the ziggurats. And this hypothetical religious use seems to be supported by Minecraft. You see, one other key feature of the ocean monument is the fact that underneath the monument are 23 giant pillars that stretch down to the ocean floor. And it's always 23, unless of course there's some weird spawn hiccup. But that 23 number, I've said it so many times this episode, it seems so oddly specific, right? It has got to mean something. And wouldn't you know it, I think it does. You see, the number 23 is just one of those numbers that's considered to be really important to humans.
Yeah, I mean, if it was 21, it would just be a meme, right?
It's a prime number, which already makes it special. It's the number of chromosome pairs that we have in our body. It's basketball
Well, speak for yourself.
star Michael Jordan's number. There's a really bad Jim Carrey movie all about the number 23. So, you know, really important
Really? That's the
stuff
thing?
here. But all joking aside,
What is that Jim Carrey movie about? I've never heard of
there's
it.
even something called the 23 Enigma, essentially a belief that the number has some sort of magical or mystical significance because of how much it shows up in our day-to-day lives. So when it comes to numbers, 23 is kind of a big deal, just behind top 10, lucky 7, and I guess unlucky 13. But when it comes to religion, 23 is an even bigger deal. You see, in the Islamic faith, there's the Quran. It's the Islamic sacred book, just like Christians have themselves the Bible and Judaism has the Torah. The Quran is believed to be the word of God as dictated to the Prophet Muhammad, and it took, get this, 23 years for the entire book to be revealed to Muhammad. It's also Muslim belief that the first verses of the Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad on the 23rd night of the 9th Islamic month. So again, in the Islamic faith, the number 23 matters a lot, meaning that those 23 pillars in the Minecraft Ocean Monument could very easily be referencing important pieces of religious architecture found around the Middle East. No, ziggurats aren't mosques, where Islamic faith is currently practiced, but they are connected by geographic region and religious connotation. Now here is where everything comes together.
Wait, so the 23 was just like, you think it's 23 just because 23 shows up everywhere? But that's the only reason that you think it's that?
Minecraft's ocean monuments were indeed places of religious significance. Where an ancient race of people believed gods could come down onto the earth and live, it could explain the box of gold encased in dark prismarine with sea lanterns in each of its corners. But to understand why, you have to be familiar with the Kaaba. The Kaaba is a black cube building at the center of Islam's most important mosque, the Great Mosque of Mecca. It is the most important place in the
Wait, so you think the gold thing is that?
Islamic faith. So important that practitioners of Islam are almost required to take a pilgrimage to see this once in their life and give worship there. Why? Well, it's thought that the Kaaba is the house of God, the sacred house, the connection between heaven and the earth. The Kaaba is a sacred place with an inside of gold and marble, but on the outside, it appears to just be a large black cube of dark granite. Just like...
So you think the thing in the fish house, the temple, is this? Or something relatively similar?
Like we see in the game with the dark prismarine being on the outside of those golden cubes. In each of the
Now that makes it more believable to Matt's theory.
corners in Minecraft is a sea lantern. And wouldn't you know it, each corner of the Kaaba also has itself a special symbolic significance, most often pointing to one key location from Islamic history. So could it be that the guardians of Minecraft are protecting the most sacred treasure of all, the location, or at least the perceived location, of God himself? It sounds crazy, but remember, the ending of Minecraft does indeed have two godlike figures speaking with each other about your gameplay. The fact that gods exist in the canonical universe of Minecraft Minecraft is an established part of the lore. I mean, a lot of the details really line up here. The ziggurat structure connects us to the Middle East and Islamic tradition. The 20
Are there no other structures built around the world that resemble something similar to this? There has to have been something, right? You'd think there would have to be something else built that would look similar to this.
3 pillars and their importance to Islamic faith, covering up the golden, important interior of a building with a dark stone exterior just like the Kaaba. The perfect cubic shape of both of those structures. The importance of each of the corners. The need to have the guardians protecting this place at all. Heck, even the name. This is the Ocean Monument. It isn't a ruin, it's not a temple, it's a monument. Monument is a word used to honor a place of historical significance, a place of the dead, or an important figure like a god. You don't call the building that houses your sponge room a monument. Oh yeah, and it's worth mentioning here as one last final
Why is this sponge in there to begin with? We need to address this too.
no, the one practical function of the ziggurat was actually to serve as just a high place on which the priests could escape rising water that would flood the Mesopotamian areas every year. Rising
Oh, wow. Oh, that's interesting. Now, if the priests are stuck up there, what do they eat? How do they get out of there?
water, huh? Maybe the underwater monuments weren't quite so
Oh, the rising water. So, okay, that actually makes a lot more sense. That actually makes a lot more. Why didn't you bring this up sooner?
underwater. So we have ourselves the heat-seeking laser-shooting fish that might have been man-made to protect an underwater monument dedicated to what may or may not be an ancient god. Now the only question is, who built it? Why is it here underwater? And that, my friends, is explained through 2 words: the drowned. But that theory will have to wait for another day. In the meantime,
That's an interesting theory, Matt.
remember, that's just a theory. A game theory.
It's a very interesting theory, Matt. I think it makes a lot more sense, especially at the end there with the water rising. Why didn't you mention that sooner? It doesn't really explain the fish that much. Like, I don't know if this whole episode was to explain the fish. I thought it was, but I mean, I guess it's not to explain the fish. Like the weird, the Guardians, but I don't know, whatever. I hope you guys like this. I think it's an interesting theory. I definitely think Matt could be right in this theory, but I definitely think it has more possibilities to be something else, and Matt could be wrong. So I think out of a 10, I'd rate this theory maybe like a 6, maybe like a 6. I think it's a good theory, but I think there is room that he could be wrong. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys like this though. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the Game Theories. I'll link to the description if you're new. Hit subscribe to the family, and with that being said, see you guys next time. Boop.